All right, and good morning, everybody. Spin Adventures here live at the James Museum of Wildlife and Arts exhibits at in St. Petersburg, and I was gonna go see some live animals, show you guys, but unfortunately that event sold out surprisingly. And when I was walking up the stairs, a whole line of people backed up to the fountain and the bottom of the staircase was the line. It was all the way backed up to the fountain, which was a very long line. So we are going to check out the museum today, talk about some of the artists that did these paintings, sketches, and sculptures. Let's start. Lemur. Lemur painting by Kim Donaldson, who was the ring-tailed lemur of 2000. It was out of pastel drawing, pastel painting as well. Ring-tailed lemurs are native to the island of Madagascar off the coast of Africa. These highly sociable creatures lived in forests along riverbanks. Habit destruction and the exotic pet trade, the ring-tailed lemur is listed as endangered. Of course, here we have the famous gorilla. The mountain gorilla by John Searle Lester. 1945 to 2020 was when he died. And it was oil on canvas. Oil pastel canvas, oil painting. And it just lists all the mountain gorillas. Anyone who makes direct eye contact is a challenger and an enemy come to disrupt the family. Staring into the eyes of a silverback gorilla, uncomfortable and insecure, forcing him to behave wildly, often charging to fight. Imposing gorilla's presence powerful, filling the canvas and stacked in his domain to create the misty forest atmosphere. Searle Lester painted the natural world for more than 40 years. His Lifetime Achievement Award from the Society Animal Artists 2019 cemented his status as one of the great wildlife artists of his generation, born in England. He spent most of his career based in Osprey, Florida, with his wife and fellow award-winning animal painter, Susie C. Lester. We move on to the next one by Cubas Belair, the African Big Five. Well, of course, we got the famous rhinoceros, the African elephant, of course, the yak, the lion, and the jaguar. The Big Five refers to Africa's most difficult animals to hunt on foot. The term was coined by big-name hunters, but now also is used in tourist safari guides. Both black and white rhinoceroses are considered among the Big Five. Recent years, wildlife conservationists have become concerned for these animals. African lion, African leopard, African elephants are all classified as vulnerable and near threatened, while the black rhino, considered critically endangered, hunting them is greatly restricted. It may eventually become illegal of the Big Five game animals to hunt, as conservation statutes of least concern, but it's experiencing population decline in uncontrolled areas due to poaching and urbanization. So as we can see through here, the big old bull on board. Askari is the Swahili word for soldier. It's used to describe young male elephants of older bulls. They learn to social ways, mating etiquette and hierarchy, their elders, while also observing as their guardians. Michael Coleman, American-born 1946. And this is oil on canvas. Very, very interesting. It's elephant interactions firsthand in Botswana. Of course, you got the lion cubs at sunset. It was an oil painting You see the two lions, flying cubs, sitting, enjoying a nice sunset on the African safari. And also you have the radio ripples, the antelopes on acrylic, an acrylic panel. The sable antelope lives in the savanna woodlands of southeastern Africa. Also very impressive ringed horns that can grow more than 5 feet long. So we look over here, of course, you've got the famous zebras. Famous zebras here, all going wild. They're spooked, is what is the name of the painting. Spooked Plains Zebra, oil painting, canvas. Some of these, there are some of these that have descriptions on them that tell you about the paintings or the drawings. Some of them just have the basic, this is what a painting was, and it was done at this time. So bear with me as I go through. I'll try to get through them very quickly so we can get through this and I can show you guys the different pictures and sculptures. Another one, Dino Proveno, who was an Italian-American born in 1935, and it was also an oil painting. Due to their proportions, this is the giraffe, South African giraffes. Giraffes awkwardly shuffle and spread their long legs to reach ground for water. Fortunately, they only need to drink about every 3 days. Giraffes are the tallest living land animals, ranging from 14 to 18 feet tall. Very long. And this sculpture here is another giraffe sculpture. You can see the mama and the baby giraffe. Giraffe babies are called calves, and they are mostly recognized on the savannas, African savannas. Recognized internationally as one of the foremost wildlife sculptors, Kent Ullberg, who was Swedish-American, 1945, and he did this also sculpted out of clay. And woodlands eating giraffes eat around 75 pounds of foliage, like trees, leaves, grass. These creatures greatly affect the trees they feed on, delaying the growth of saplings and significantly altering the shapes of very tall trees. Of course, you have the March of the Penguins, emperor penguins. These are emperor penguins with their little feathery hair, by John Siri Lester, who is British, who did the top painting, which was a lion and an explorer looking for lions, which was an oil painting on canvas. He often said that he paints from his experiences and that observing nature is the best reference. This tongue-in-cheek self-portrait, the artist showed his humorous side, how he's exploring while a lion is going to attack. Matthew Hillier, Northern Rockhopper penguin, which was acrylic painting, striving to convey one of the most than just physical characteristics of a species. Hillier also tried to reveal something of its personality. Takes photographs for details, but does sketches to get true feel for subject. According to the artist, Rockhopper penguins are quite simply irresistible to me as an artist, and I enjoy comical aspect of the nature it suggests. According to Hillier. Of course, we'll go through some ones. You have, this is the On the Trail of Caribou, a very interesting wolves here at sunset, oil on canvas of the Arctic wolves. And of course you got the bobcat with the crows, oil painting as well. And then The Florida. This looks like the Florida Panther, actually, or a cougar. This is a cougar. Cougar Walk by J.J. Johnson, which is a mountain. It's also a mountain lion. It was an acrylic painting on engineered wood panel. He resides in Massachusetts, where he paints Northern American birds and mammals using realism and light, mood, and texture. He's traveled extensively throughout America, from mountain ranges to river valleys, on southwestern deserts and ocean coastlines in search of subjects.
All I'm seeing is
And of course, you have Kyle Sims. Bath time for the otters. Oil painting on canvas. And then over here, we just got both of them on each side, so we got one behind, four behind me. But this one's about the peacock in flight, which was also oil on engineered wood panel. A male peafowl called peacocks cannot fly for long distances. They take a series of hops and short bursts to escape predators. Native to India and Sri Lanka, peafowl have been introduced by humans to every continent except Antarctica. And of course, right over here, you have the Three Sisters, oil on canvas. And on the top, you have the Hesitation acrylic paint on board. And then over here, you have this is a hawk. Red-tailed hawk. By Ernest C. Simmons. It was also acrylic painting. And then you have the crane. Summer Snow. Which was a crane on the board as well. Oil and acrylic on board here of a hayloft inside of a barn. Work in progress. Of course, the raccoon sculptures. We got a hand here holding a hawk.
I like that too.
So this is the hawk. It's the Louisiana Tupelo wood hand painting. Sculpted crystal acrylic paint, copper rod, silver soldier, big leaf, maple burr, black walnut. Professional carver since 1983. It's had the pleasure.
Yeah, that's acrylic. That's a text. It says hand painted acrylic.
Yeah, this is a hand painted acrylic.
That's a good replication. Crap. How can that not be a Texagon?
No, it's not. This is a hand painted. That's very impressive of how this is a hand painted acrylic. Here, the studio. It's become a beautiful bird. He's been teaching the art of carving since 1990, before I was born. My life has really opened up through teaching. And you got the Charging Bison, American Bison by Daniel Smith. Acrylic on masonite, which is a type of canvas. According to the Bison Route, is an annual spectacle that occurs during the heat of summer. It's by far the best time to observe bison in action as they battle for dominance and for mates. Oh, that'd be so much fun to watch from a very long, safe distance. Witnessing a full-blown fight between two mature bulls, heavy hitters depicting a precursor to the main events. The American Bison battling for dominance as headbutting, which their speed is similar to a car crash at 40 miles an hour. Wow. An undivided attention. That just sounds like, yeah, an oil painting on canvas. Young red foxes are called pups or kits, and both mother and father typically share their care. Females give birth in early spring between 4 and 9 pups. So a baby fox is called a pup. The fox den, which has multiple exits in case a predator gets in, provides a safe place for the family. Along with the Canadian moose. Al Agnew was on oil on wood panel painting. Having grown up in the Missouri Ozarks, Agnew's appreciation for the outdoors come through in his detailed, realistic scenes in nature. He currently splits his time between rural Missouri and Paradise Valley, Montana, two places with an abundance of wildlife subjects to observe and paint. So this must have been in Montana or Missouri, which one? And it is up to us to find out. On the top here, we got Ralph Oberg crossing the glacier in an oil canvas laid painting. Caribou. This is a caribou. Most of their lives on the move, migrating more than any other land animal. Regional herds between 50,000 and 500,000 animals travel seasonally, taking advantage of food resources while avoiding predators. Caribou have been an important resource to indigenous people of the Arctic for thousands of years. Of course, here you got the bear, the brown bear, grizzly, who has taken down a caribou. I thought it was an elk, but it's not. It's a caribou. From the by John Clymer. From 1940s to the 60s, Clymer illustrated for publications such as Field and Stream and Women's Day. He also created 80 covers for the Saturday Evening Post, one of the most widely circulated magazines of the time. Paintings helped introduce scenes and stories of the Western to American public. His achievements in illustration afforded him flexibility to easel paint full-time by 1970. Clymer influenced generations of American Western and wildlife painters. And it's got the running of the deer, or elk. I think these are elk. No, these are deer. Okay. These are deer, white-tailed deer. Of course, you got the bighorn sheep, which are known as rams. These are the rams. And dueling, and this was by Dustin Van Wetchel, born in 1974. He did this in 2015, oil on canvas. Dueling is a part of the ram's social structure, fighting for dominance or mating rights. With a flair for the dramatic, narratives are a key element to this artist's work. Van Wetchel has been a full-time artist since leaving a career in advertising in 2002, living and painting in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is a great place to find American wildlife out in the West. So we're going to move on here to some of the sculptures, and I'll get you, this is the Earth and Humanity Foundation Wildlife Gallery. So we're in the American West. Stagecoach. Stagecoaches were often used primarily for the Western culture. By Dale Ford, 1934 to 2015. The Stagecoach, it was hand painted out of wood, steel, leather between 1857 and 1861. Butterfield Overland Trail used Concord stagecoaches to carry passengers and U.S. mail. between Memphis and San Francisco. Bumpy 2,812-mile journey took about 24 days, almost a month, to go from one end, from the eastern part of the U.S. and the western part of the U.S. Had I not, according to one of the first passengers, had I not just come out over the route, I'd probably be perfectly willing to go back. But I now know what hell is like. I've just had 24 days of it. Of course, very slow, but this is a hand-carved out of wood stagecoach. Over here, of course, we have the out of bronze Trail Blues. The Chisholm Trail Blues. Chisholm Trail was a stretch of land used for driving cattle between Texas and Kansas from 1867 to 1884. Approximately 5 million head of cattle made the journey, which could take up to 2 months. The trail was named for Jesse Chisholm, a businessman who set up several trading posts along the way. On the long and isolated trail rides, a favorite activity for cowboys to pass the time was to play music. As you can see, they are just playing music while riding along this trail, called Trail of Blues. This here is a very cool sculpture here, the Long Trail Home. It was depict a return trip to the J.A. Ranch of Charles Goodnight and John Adair in the Texas Panhandle after a cattle drive in the late 19th century. This was the Long Trail Home. See, it is going over mountain ranges and the plains and back to heading back to Texas. And the big longhorn steer in the front. And the cattle drive. The cowboy, made out of bronze. This is the way I remember the old-timers on our ranch looking. It is my tribute to the stoic men who made up my family, my heritage, and my world as a young man, says McCain. Buck McCain. Just the cowboy. More about their culture. Of course, you have Riding for the Lead out of bronze. And the Colonel. Looks like the rodeo here. This is Harry Jackson, who did this out of bronze sculpture. Jackson's sculpture is a celebration of Wyoming rodeo champion Clayton Danks in 1879-1970, and the Black Gelding Rodeo Horse Steamboat 1896 to 1914. This dynamic representation of horse and rider is also an engineering feat. Riding on a hind leg. Welcome to the rodeo. This one's from the Frontier Spirits out of bronze. Just of what the frontier was like in early Western American culture. In one big pyramid. Bronmont traces the development of American Western through 17 figures representing aspects of 1800s frontier life. The base are the Native Americans and bison, the original inhabitants of the West. Winding upward, the artist includes prospectors panning for gold, an Indian scout, a pioneer family with Conestoga wagon, dance hall girl, a honky tonk piano player, which is probably on the back side. So I'll go around to that. And a roundup cook with a chuck wagon, a farmer, and the work is capped off by a Gandhi dancer driving in a railroad spike, which is on the other side. In 1869, connecting the east and the west by the first transcontinental railroad. So we have the pot here. Of course, you got there it is. The man driving in the spike to connect the east to the west. Now, this one talks about is by C. Michael Dudish, born in 1952, telling of the secret path, oil on linen cloth, which is amazing. Its cultural differences between native peoples and European settlers touch many aspects of life, including religion. Here, a Christian missionary, who's right there in the black robe, speaks to several Plains Indians through an interpreter. While respectful, their expressions range from curious to doubtful. Dudish says, "My goal wasn't to pass judgment on the subject one way or another, but to create a work that highlighted the efforts of good people on both sides who struggled to find common ground." So the Christian missionary, is talking to the Native Americans about Jesus, pretty much, and the Bible and the good book. This one here is by Glenna Godcare, The Spirit of the Southwest, in bronze, sculpted in bronze. This one's three cultures of Southwest are represented here: American Indian, Hispanic, and Anglo. Over the years, they inhabited the same lands in peace and in struggle. Today, they are linked together through strong cultural influences and overlapping histories. You can see the Colonel. This must be the Anglo, because the Native American are here. No, that's not. No, this is American Indian, Hispanic. Hispanic could be here, and this is Anglo. Okay, got it. This was I did something like this in high school, back when I was a sophomore here. I'll turn around. This is something I did back in high school, my sophomore year, 10th grade. Actually, in my dad's art class, it was a four red cloud, it was called mixed media. So I took like different colors, mixed it in, and did like a I forget what it was, like a chisel, I think is what it was called, out of like a styrofoam, not a styrofoam, but it was something like a styrofoam square or rectangle, and I would carve out a picture. As I colored it in, I would carve out a picture, and it would stamp onto another piece of paper. This is what I would also do, and it was Red Cloud. This is what it was called. And so we're going to go read about what it was. Red Cloud, the Lakota warrior and statesman, is depicted repeatedly in a pop art style. It was called pop art. That's what it was called. But it was also mixed media, because it would be in different colors. And this work refers to treaties that were repeatedly broken by the U.S. government. Alright, so now we have entered another section of the gallery, which is the Native American art section. Native American art. And so we're going to start out with this sculpture right here beside me. This is the Yunkin Sioux grass dancers. And it was in 1804, the Yunkin Yankton leaders in South Dakota met with explorers Lewis and Clark to discuss their concerns about maintaining peace with Missouri tribes. The meeting was noted for its celebratory music, feasting, and handing out of medals to the chiefs. In the evening, a dance was performed that expressed the bravery of the Yankton warriors. So every night they would do a celebration dance to commemorate the bravery of the Yankton warriors. This sculpture here is titled The Emergence of the Chief. It depicts the Mohawk, Native American, ceremony for choosing a new chief. A Mohawk clan mother holds a wampum belt, a symbol of her essential position within the community. She stands beside her choice of a new clan chief, called a caretaker of the peace. A decision she made based on its ability to put the interest of his people first. The emergence of the chief. Of course, over here, you got some of the other sculptures, which I like this one. This is Louis Mao Chan, Taiwanese. Using this was a leather oil based dye in 2010. He's a buffalo dancer. The medium for fine art sculpture is rare, and it appeals to Chan as an artist seeking his own path. Unlike wood, stone, and copper, leather gives people a warm, intimate feeling. Says Chan, it took years to develop his secret process of manipulating leather, and each sculpture takes up to 6 months to complete. He paints the sculptures with oil-based dyes to add to the realism. The snake dance. They dance with snakes. Okay. Participates in the snake dance has specific roles, including carrier and hugger. The carrier manipulates the snake, sometimes holding it in its mouth. The hugger's job is to hold the carrier's left shoulder to consistently distract the snake with an eagle feather as they dance around the plaza. The snake dance out of bronze. The council out of bronze by Joe Beeler, who was 1931 to 2006. Beeler was a pioneer in contemporary Western art and one of the original 4 members of the Cowboy Artists of America. He combined a lifetime of cowboy experience with formal art training. This culture, a council of Appalachian Indians, listened to the proclamations of their leader. The council. Titled The Seminole Warrior by David York. Born in 1949. He did this in 2007. Portrait based on a Florida Seminole warrior might have looked at the Dade Battle in December of 1835. I'll put a link in the description down below of that of the museum in the state park where I visited Dade City and took part of the Second Seminole War against their forced relocation to a reservation in the center of the state. The Seminole ambushed the U.S. Army led by Major Francis L. Dade, 1793, possibly to 1835, while the soldiers were marching from present-day Tampa to what is now Ocala, Florida. The Seminoles are the only tribe to never have signed a peace treaty with the U.S. government. Interesting. Okay, this art, as I was walking towards it, it looked so real. It was very lively. I'll tell you that. It looked like I could just reach out and touch, feel the horses. It looked so real. It was very bright and vibrant. Just with all the bright colors. Very, very well done. So this is called The Battle at Bear Paw by Dave McGarry, American from 1958 to 2013. This is Chief Joseph, 1840 to 1904. He advocated for peace as a leader. of the Nez Perce during the most tumultuous time in their history. In 1877, the U.S. Army forced them from their ancestral lands of the Walla Valley in Oregon in a 1,170-mile retreat during the Nez Perce War. Joseph surrendered with the understanding that his people could return to their land, but instead they were forced onto reservation camps. Alright, this sculpture here is the Frederick Remington, American 1861 to 1909. He did the Mountain Man. Reminds me of the West Virginia Mountaineers from West Virginia University. That's what it's titled, and through his art, Frederick Remington helped shape an idolized image of the American West in popular culture that endures today. He was prolific as an illustrator in national publications, later a fine art easel painter, but Remington is perhaps best known for his dynamic bronze sculptures, as seen here in the Mountain Man. As the horse and rider carefully descend the steep slope from this form pays tribute to the risky work of Rocky Mountain trappers and fur traders of the 1830s and 40s. My watercolors will fade, but I am to endure in bronze, said Frederick Remington. By Dave McCary, The Privateers, out of bronze. American bison was integral to the Plains Indians' way of life, providing their major source of food, shelter, clothing, and tools. They considered the bison as a significant gift from the Great Spirit and used the animal efficiently for their needs. The nomadic tribes of the plains followed the bison migration and the location of their camps, length of time, and each stop were almost solely determined by the herd's movement. Alright, so this one is by Vic Payne, born in 1960, Into the Wild, out of bronze. This sculpture celebrates the 1843 to 1844 westward journey of notable explorer John C. Fremont and legendary frontiersman Kit Carson, together with a team of 40 men. They ventured from Missouri into untamed territory, in part to map the trails from the Columbia River in Oregon to the Pacific Ocean. Their adventures took them through the Great Salt Lake region and over the Sahara, Nevada, and Rocky Mountain ranges. Wow. Alright, so thank you all for joining me here at the James Museum of Wildlife and Art. Great museum, learning about the Western culture, colonial America, and the Native Americans as they settled here. And there were a couple of representations of some of my past videos that I've done of state parks and of other Florida historical sites and museums here in St. Pete. But here in St. Pete, the James Museum, I highly suggest you guys come and check it out, especially if you are in a big history enthusiast, Native American history, or just American history in general. Great place to come and learn about some of the arts and sculptures from the Native Americans and colonial American history from the past to the present day here in St. Petersburg. So don't forget to subscribe to Spin Ventures, drop a like on this video, and I'll link some other videos that I've been to on this video specifically. Leave comments down below. And now, it's off to our next Spin Venture. We'll see you all on the next one. Spin Venture from the James Museum.